What's up? What's up? What's up? We are here. Made it. Oh, man, it's been such a crazy day. I'm so happy though to be in the Bible study to do this, and I actually got another Bible study after this. So I'm still a little unsure about the time for next week, but we're gonna keep it going on Wednesdays right now. I'm just trying to open up my Bible to, I think it's First Samuel. For anyone new here, this is my Bible study. I just go through the Bible, read it, explain things, talk about it, just some like stories or whatever's in it. And it's just something that I love to do. So I'm trying to find this here. But yeah, if anyone's new here, welcome. Happy you guys could be here, and just happy that we can go through this. I'm trying to figure out the best way to bring this up. Just bear with me, guys. We're going to be covering David and Goliath, so pretty excited about that and to cover that today. What's going on? What's up, everybody? Happy you can join. I'm just trying to pull this up in my Bible right now. Yeah, so 1 Samuel is like right after Ruth. So I'm trying to bring up right now. All right, here we go. It's just hard to flip it. My page are like stuck together, but happy to make it. All right. 1 Samuel 17. Boom. Finally. All right, so this is cool, and I wanted to cover this today because I'm going to be covering after the Bible study after this, just being bold and stepping into our promised land. And I feel like each and every one of us has something in our life where it's like an obstacle, a struggle, a challenge, something that's ahead of us that is so difficult, and we need God to overcome it. So what I want people to know is, like, without God, without Jesus, we can't do some things. And this story with David and Goliath is just an infamous story that every single person knows about. So it's just beautiful to see it and just see it come to life here. So I'm going to start. Let me see. Yeah, I'm probably going to start. I don't know if to start in the beginning or start. You know what? I might jump a little bit further into it. Okay, I'm going to start where David kills Goliath and talk about it so we can get into this here. So if anyone hasn't known about the story of Goliath and how this all works, I just want you guys to know this is like a really powerful story where the Israelites are fighting the Philistines, and they have their army in front of them, and the Israelites are afraid because they feel like they're going to lose. And with this, David, who's like a young boy at the time, stands up to fight their champion, their prized warrior, Goliath, of the opposite side. So it starts, I'm going to start here and jump a little bit into the story. And it says in verse 32, don't worry about this Philistine, David told Saul. I'll go and fight him. And he says, don't be ridiculous, Saul replied. There's no way that you can fight the Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth. So Saul doesn't even believe in David right now. He's like, you're only a young boy. This guy is so experienced. Like, how can you step forward and take him on? But David persisted, and he said, I have been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. When a lion or bear comes to steal a lamb from a flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. That's pretty crazy. So, like, I didn't even know this is new to me too, because I haven't read this story in a little bit, and I didn't even know how David persisted. And he's like, I've been taking care of my father's sheep and goats. And he said, when a lion or bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue it. And that's just so beautiful. And that's God with him to step forward. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a lion or seen a beast or a bear of that power in person before. I mean, I've seen one at a zoo before, and it's just crazy. Like, if you look at a lion in the eyes and see how ferocious it is and see how much power it has, it's unbelievable. And there's so many Bible verses that say, be the wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. And right here in David and Goliath's story, David chased a lion around to save a sheep. And there's another Bible verse about chasing the lion, but I'm not going to dive into that right now. But I'm saying the Bible talks time and time again about claiming our boldness and to step forward and to know that God is with us and to have faith that he will take us through it, that we can't have a challenge that we know we're going to overcome. We have to have a challenge that is so difficult that there's no way that we can overcome this unless we know that God is with us, unless we know that he's with us and he's going to take care of this. Like it should almost fail. And we have to know that God will carry us through it. So let me carry on in the story here. And David says, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from the lion's mouth. If an animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. I have done this to both lions and bears, and I'll do this to this pagan Philistine too, for he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine. So finally, Saul consented, and he's like, all right, just go ahead, take out the giant, take him down. And he's like, may the Lord be with you, he said to David. And then Saul gave David his own armor, a bronze helmet and a coat of mail. Like, that's just like armor back in the day that would go over him, like kind of like a jacket, and then the helmet and whatnot. So he strapped also a sword over it and took a step or two to see. David took a step or two to see what the new armor was like because he never wore it. For me, I race dirt bikes, so it's like I put on my gear, like my boots and my helmet, and sometimes I put on new gear. I got to get comfortable, feel, is this right for me? Is this fit me good? And David at this point, it's like, I don't know about this gear right now. I don't know if it really fits me so well. So he goes on to Saul and he says, I can't go in these. I can't wear this against Goliath. He's like, this isn't going to work. So he takes it off, and he took them off, and he picked up 5 smooth stones right near a stream, and he put them into his shepherd's bag. Then he armed only with his shepherd's staff and a sling. He started across the valley to fight the Philistine. But I love this story because he just takes off the armor that Saul makes him. He's like, nah, this isn't, I don't need this. I have God with me. I'm going to take what I'm comfortable with. I trust him. I'm doing this for God. So I know I'm not going to fail. I know that this is all going to come together and this is all going to happen. So it goes on. He gets the 5 stones right near the stream, and he goes forward, and he says, yeah. So he goes forward, walks towards Goliath. Goliath walks out towards David with the shield bearer ahead of him, sneering in contempt at his ruddy-faced boy. So, Goliath wasn't just by himself. He had like 2 armed guards with him as well. That's why it's like shield bearer is said that right there. And he said to David, he's like, am I a dog? And he's like, that you come at me with a stick? As he cursed David by the names of his gods, come over here and I'll give you your flesh to the birds and wild animals, Goliath yelled. So he's just like mocking David. And he's like, this kid isn't even worth my time. Like, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, I don't even know why I'm wasting my time with this little boy. Like, he has no armor. He's got a sling. He's got 5 stones, a little staff. It's just like a little tiny sword. And Goliath is covered like head to toe in the craziest armor, helmet, boots. I mean, the whole deal. And he's huge. He's a giant. Back in those days, there were people that were massive, much bigger than normal people. I mean, Goliath, I don't know if he was like 9 feet tall, 8 feet tall. Like, they were incredibly tall back then. Like, there were giants that were in the land, and he was a giant. So anyway, David replied when Goliath was like taunting him with all these things. And David replied to the Philistine, and he said, come to me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. So what I notice here is, David saying, you come with me with a sword, spear, javelin. He has all this armor. He has all these things, but David is saying, I come to you in the name of the Lord with heaven's armies, the God of the armies of Israel. So for me, this is so beautiful to see because David is clearly underpowered. He's one of those people who, you know, he's just like so little. He's a young man. He's a young boy. He has nothing on him, just these five stones and a sling. But the biggest thing that he has and the most important thing that he has with him is God. And he claims that and he says that right there. He's like, I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's army. So he's saying, in God's name, I am going to, head forward and defeat you. Like he's standing for God. And that says something right there. So David said, today the Lord will conquer you, and I will kill you and cut off your head, and I will give the dead bodies of your men to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give it to us. So this is like David's battle cry. Like he's stepping forward. He's not afraid of anything. He's stepping forward and he's knowing that God is with him at this time. And this is like pretty crazy to think about and to think, it's pretty amazing how God used David too, right? Like David's a young boy. He's not nearly as tall as Goliath, doesn't have the physical shape or strength or anything or the armor. Like he's completely the underdog, like the ultimate underdog story here. But God shows his power through David and shows that, he's going to make this all happen and come together because he's representing him. David's representing God right here. So as Goliath moved closer to attack David quickly ran out to meet him, kind of like in a UFC or boxing bout when they just come together, the two opponents, like they charge towards each other. And when they ran closer to each other, David reached into his shepherd's bag and took out a stone, and he hurled it with his sling, and he hit Goliath in the forehead. And the stone sank in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over to Goliath with only a sling and a stone, and he had no sword. And he ran over, pulled Goliath's sword out of his sheath, and David used it to kill him and cut off his head. So there's so much that just happened in that little bit right there. But, David takes out this slingshot and just flings one stone, and it hits the one area where Goliath is exposed, and that's his forehead, because he didn't have like where the helmet was. I don't know how it was exposed, but right here was, and that's exactly where David hit. Call it lucky? No, it's not. It's not luck. It's God. David knew that God was with him. David knew that he was going to triumph over him. David knew that he was going to defeat him because God was with him, not because of his own strength, but he knew that God was going to be with him. And he said, I claim this in Jesus's name. Like I claim this in God's name. I'm going to overcome this challenge. So after David, took down Goliath, he used it and he cut off his head and he raised it. And then, once the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and they ran away. And then Israel won that war and that battle. So, God just right there acted, and it was David stepping forward so boldly as well. He chased it. He didn't run away. He didn't shy away from a challenge, not even a challenge. Like he knew that if he didn't overcome this, if he didn't make this happen and defeat Goliath, that he would be dead. But it wasn't his own doing. It was God in him. It was God's strength in him, which is so beautiful to see how he went forward and trusted God, even when it was so easy to be afraid and to just like, second guess things. But God is in control and he knows what's best for us. So I love this story because it just remembers, it reminds me to remember whatever adversity, anything I'm overcoming or have to overcome, I know that I can do it with God's strength and not my own strength. And that goes for you guys too. Like whatever challenge, whatever something that's going on in your life, it's like we need to trust God with it. We need to know that, hey, I don't know exactly what's going to happen next, but I know that I'm going to trust God with it and I will overcome it. Like I don't know what your Goliath is. I don't know what the biggest challenge or the thing that you need to overcome, whether it's a dream, whether it's an addiction, whether it's school, or whether it's something else. I don't know exactly, but God knows about it. And when you put it in his hands and when you trust him and when you have faith, that's when you're letting these things come through. When you have faith and then you follow it through with action. And that's what is going on in this story right here. My Bible breaks down some cool pieces here and talks a little bit about it. And it says, as David squared off against Goliath, he knew that in human terms, he didn't have a chance. Just like what I'm saying, in human terms, he had no chance. His courage came from his recognition that the battle belonged to God. Like David, we face many battles where we don't have the power to win, but with God, the victory is certain. I love that. That's really cool. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit. And it also says that, David was confident that God would deliver him from Goliath's wrath, no matter how improbable it may have seemed. David was a young shepherd boy armed with a sling and some stones, and Goliath was a giant man armed with a great sword and spear. In human terms, David didn't have a chance, but with God, he couldn't lose. So that's what I'm saying right here. When God's in your life, you can't lose either. You're going to come through. God's going to follow you through that. He's going to take you through that. He's going to give you the power, the strength, everything you need, but it's all about trusting him and having faith in him. So it goes on a little bit more. I'll explain it. And it said, David didn't have a chance, but with God, he couldn't lose. And God is able to provide the victory to all who are willing to trust him. We all face giants in our lives, problems that are too big for us to face alone. But even when the odds are stacked against us, we can't lose if God is on our side. That's so true. And notice here that David's courage, in part, is a consequence of God's help in previous battles with lions and bears. David had learned how to trust God in his smaller battles, giving him the faith he needed to confront Goliath. It is easy to overlook our smaller victories and to forget the help that God can give us in certain times. We would be wise to take account of our victories, no matter how small, and allow them to build courage and faith for the battles that still lie ahead. I love that. Yeah, and sometimes it starts small, right? Like for us to have more trust in God and to have more trust in him, stepping forward, sometimes it gets to start a little smaller. Like I'm not saying you got to go right after Goliath right away, but start with something smaller and it'll build some momentum and you'll have more trust and you'll have more faith in God. A little story from me. I remember a challenge, something that I overcame with God, of course. It's pretty interesting story you guys might like. So I don't know, for you guys that know or don't know, I ride dirt bikes and I race dirt bikes, indoors, outdoors. And for indoor motocross racing, it's called a supercross track. And on the supercross track, there's these really big jumps. Like there's rhythm sections, there's tabletops, there's doubles, there's whoop sections, a whole bunch of obstacles, and they're really challenging. And they take a lot of just precision, focus, and strength, and just not having fear to overcome these things. So for me, there's this big jump on one of the supercross tracks where I was training, and it's like a 75-foot triple jump. So it's 75 feet in length. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen a 75-foot gap before, but it's pretty big. And then to have a takeoff, like a ramp that is like about 15, I would say close to 15 feet tall, with the landing the same. And there's no room for error. Like to clear this 75-foot gap, you can't come up short. You have to land on the downside, because if you come up short, you're going to bottom out your suspension, meaning you're going to use all your suspension and you can get hurt. So for me, I remember when I first started riding supercross, it was scary because there was these obstacles on the track and I had to either do them or not do them. There was no in between. I couldn't jump in between or I couldn't even come up short. There was no coming up short. If I come up short, I can get seriously hurt, breaking bones or even worse. So it's no joke. I mean, you're sailing over 20 feet in the air, 30 feet in the air. Like you can jump over a house with how big this gap is. So for one of my first times on the supercross track, I knew I had to hit this jump. Like I knew I had to do it. And my first day I didn't do the jump, and it just troubled me and it bothered me. And I knew the next day, I wanted to, give it a whirl, and I still didn't muster up the courage to do it. Like I really wanted to, but I was just nervous because I'm like, if I make one mistake, I can get seriously hurt, and I just can't afford that right now. And I prayed about it. I was searching up Bible verses about not being afraid and stepping forward, and I was praying about it a lot because it was just nerve-wracking. Like I would go to sleep and think about, I have to hit this jump. If I want to compete at this high level of professional racing, I have to clear the 75-foot gap. There's no room for error, and I have to do it. So I prayed about it. And on the third day, I went out on my motorcycle and I prayed about it. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to do it. And I remember I had one of my buddies there at the track with me, which was pretty cool. And I was able to ride with him and train with him. And he allowed me to follow him over the jump because he was doing it. And it helped me a little bit to see the speed that I needed to clear the jump, but I still had to do it on my own. And I had to do this. I'm like, all right, I got to do this. So he's like, all right, follow me right off of it. I'm like, all right. So I'm following him. We go around the turn and there's the jump, and he takes off of it, and I'm coming up to the takeoff, and it's like, all right, I'm either got to go all in and turn the throttle to go over this, or I just back out. And I just gave it the throttle. I'm like, all right, I'm trusting God. I'm just going to do this and let go of the outcome. And I just followed him right off of it, and I cleared it. I got over the jump, no problems. And it was such a weight off my shoulders because this thing was just tormenting me. It was my Goliath just pacing back and forward, just yelling and taunting me like I couldn't do this. I couldn't defeat this. But I prayed about it, and I had faith that God was going to take me through it. And no matter the outcome, I knew I can get seriously injured doing this jump, but I trusted God and I followed him through it, and it all came together. And it's so beautiful because after I did that jump, I did all the other jumps on the track. Any other triple that I had to face in any other Supercross race, I did. And it really changed my whole riding career. So without doing that jump, I wouldn't have qualified for some of the professional races that I entered in. So it was a really big milestone. And I don't know what challenge or what Goliath is in your life, but I know that if you have faith and that if you trust God and just let him be in complete control and not worry about the outcome, but just trust him through it, he'll follow you through it like he did with me. And yeah, it was just so crazy. I just remember that so clearly. And it was without a doubt one of those victories where I knew God was with me, and things definitely came forward. So I don't want to really cut this a little shorter tonight, but I have to because I have another Bible study after this. But if this is your first time here, I'm really happy you guys joined. And before you cut it short or leave, I want to pray for you guys. So I don't know if you guys are new here, but if you have any prayer requests or anything that you guys want me to cover, feel free to drop it below in the chat, and I'll pray for you guys. Anything for healing, just for more faith, courage, any adversity, anything that you're struggling with. I love to pray for you guys. So this is your chance. Just drop it down in the chat below and I'll pray for you guys. Sorry, I didn't look at the chat too much before. I was just like I'm looking down at the Bible here because I'm reading it and going along with the story. But yeah, anything you guys need prayer for, just drop it below and I'll pray for you guys. And I'm just going to start praying too. So if you guys have anything, just drop it in the chat below. Love to pray for you guys and happy you guys can join. I do this every week. It's been pretty much every Wednesday or Thursday. So feel free to join next Wednesday or next Thursday as well. And I'll be posting that as well. So anyway, I'm going to pray for you guys. And any prayer requests, just feel free to drop them below. Dear Lord, dear Jesus, I just thank you for this time with everyone. I know it was a little shorter today, Lord, but I'm really thankful and blessed to be here and to just pray and just get in your word and to learn and to grow and to step forward in you, Jesus. And I just pray, Lord, for each and every person here. I'm so thankful that they joined. I'm so thankful that, we're here, Lord, and we get to just learn and grow in you, Lord. And I pray for every single person here, every single person who needs healing, who's struggling with anything, Lord. I just pray for them, Lord. I pray for Don. I pray that you help him to just overcome anxiety because, Lord, we're supposed to cast our anxieties, everything up to you. And I just pray that he casts his anxieties up to you, Lord. And I just pray that you comfort him, love him, and be with him, Lord. And I pray for Elizabeth that you help her with any suicidal thoughts and anything going on in her mind, depression, anxiety, anything, Lord, that she's struggling with, Lord. Let her know that you love her, you care for her, and you want what's best for her, Lord. And I pray for Yesenia, and I pray that you help her to just trust you, Lord, and help her to overcome anxiety and depression and anything that is struggling in her mind and in her heart, Lord. Just give her the heart, Lord, that desires you, that wants to draw closer to you. And I just pray for her, Lord, that you be with her, comforter, lover, and just lift up all these anxieties and stresses up to you, Lord. And I just cast that all up to you. And I just pray for healing, for your touch, for your love upon every single person in this chat. I know there's some people that, there's some unspoken things that they want to say, but maybe they didn't drop it below. And I just pray for them today, Lord. I pray for everyone here, for your love, Lord, your healing, your blessing, your protection, and that you just be with them and never, ever leave, Lord. And I thank you for this time with them. I just pray for more time, and I pray that we can just keep this going, and I can just learn you and grow in you as well, Lord. And just use me, Lord. Let me create for you and just create the best videos I can make for you, Lord, that glorify and honor you and help others, Lord. I ask all these things in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen. So, guys, thank you for joining, and thank you for being here. Just a few announcements before we exit this. I'll be here next Wednesday. I'm thinking like 6:30. So expect that time. I'll post an upcoming stream thing so you guys will see the exact time, but I'm expecting like next Wednesday, probably like 6. So I'll start a little earlier to have a little more time. Sorry, today got cut short. I'm working on another Bible study, and I'm putting all that together. So we'll have the next one longer, and we'll cover something else. But any questions, anything that you guys have, feel free to message me. I have my Instagram, Twitter handle right there. And also for the story that I said about the jump for the triple, if you guys want to see like how big a motocross triple is or motocross jump is, I have some motocross videos on my channel. Actually, I'm just trying to see like exactly where they're under, but if you look like 2015 Supercross and motocross training, like under my channel, you'll see the triples and you'll see the size of the jump. And that's me jumping the jump. So just check that out. So it's just for that story anyway, just so it brings some visual to it. It's under the channel, just 2015 Supercross and motocross training. But love you guys. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. So thanks so much for being here. Love you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.